This right here is a drawing of a scone, which I really want to eat, but this is paper, so I'm gonna make it. What we're gonna make today is the quintessential scone, the British regal, crumbly, sweet, and savory breakfast go-to. So, my name's Colin, and this is another episode. If you don't know what I do, I like to doodle, draw, whatever have you, and I like to make that food. Join me as I look all over the internet, finding the best recipes to make my drawings come to life. Let's do it. This recipe I found was from Georgia's Cakes, so this scone recipe will be followed mostly to the T, and I am testing it to see if it really passes the bar, or the barrister test, or whatever. I love bringing you these videos, and it would mean so much to me if you honestly uppercutted the like button. Thanks. So let's start from the top. 675 grams of self-raising flour, or 5 2/3 cups, followed with 120 grams of white sugar, or a half cup plus 1 teaspoon. What do you think of that? Voila. Buckle up, it's gonna be a good time. Moving on, with those two ingredients we want to mix, you can grab a de-scraper or a fork or simply your hands to make sure that these two ingredients are mixed well enough so that we can move on to adding bad boy butter. Butter is not bad, but you'd have to agree that anytime butter is introduced, it does need its own theme music. Once you have your butter, you're going to, like a superstar, put your butter into the mixture. Gracefully, like I did. Just like that. Once the butter is in the bowl, we're going to use our fingers and thumbs to mix the flour with the butter until it becomes the consistency of sand. What this does is make it easier for all the wet ingredients to homogenize and mix consistently. So this is where Zest comes into it. If you want, this is optional. I have 6 grams or 1 tablespoon of lemon zest instead of orange. I like lemon. You're also going to want to grab 150 milliliters of milk, or 2 1/3 cups, and 3 large eggs. And this is your wet ingredients that you're going to want to introduce. We want to break up the eggs by stirring, of course. So stir. Look at me go. You're going to grab your milk and add it into the eggs. At this point, all of your wet ingredients are actually put together and mixing, of course, together, and pour straight into the bowl. Once that fun part is done, we're going to mix the egg and the flour and the butter and everything else with our hands. I did it slowly just because I didn't want to make a mess, and it worked out pretty good. Definitely. Would recommend. A little sticky, but we're getting through that. After you've done that, we're going to add in the dried fruits. I don't particularly care for raisins in this. I thought I'd try something different, and I added in cranberries, cherries, blueberries, and golden berries to make this very beautiful scone. Once the dough has come together through kneading, you can grab that dough, put it aside, and put a little flour on your surface. Also, you're going to be putting a little bit of flour on top of your dough for rolling it out. Okay, so you have your dough in your hand. You want to firmly press onto the surface of the dough. Sprinkle that little bit right there, as you can see. Not too much. Then grab your rolling pin and start the rolling out process. What I find easiest is not to roll too thin, just as you want to keep that thickness that is known for scones, and flipping each side. Once that's done, you can grab your parchment paper along with your baking pan and grab some flour along with a cookie cutter and lightly dust the edges and use the cookie cutter to cut out the shapes in your chunky dough. You're going to be repeating this process throughout the whole dough until you get near the end, and I'll tell you what you're going to do with that. But basically, dust off the cookie cutter and just rinse and repeat and put on the baking sheet and pan and evenly spread them out as much as you can. This is quite a big recipe, so you'll have scones for days. Once your dough gets to this point where it's just full of holes, you're just going to reform the dough and then get your rolling pin and start the process all over again until you get to the last piece, and then just form it with your hands and just shape it and place it in. Okay, so you're going to, at this point, preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius or 392 degrees Fahrenheit and grab an egg wash. So that's simply just an egg, and then you're going to be mixing it and brushing it onto your scone right on the top. What this does is give it this glossy sheen, and I know it sounds very hot, the oven, but once you place it in the middle rack, it will be so golden. All right, so it's out of the oven and they look delicious. Look at that. That was awesome. Anyways, it's a little warm, but I think it's gonna be awesome. So let's, ooh, it is crumbly. It is crumbly, the edges are nice. And look at that steam. I don't know if you can see that. It's hot, very hot, but buttery. It's good. This is the consistency that I want. Okay. I like this. This is good. This is gonna be my go-to for breakfast. This little guy was so yummy. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. That recipe from Georgia Cakes, chef's kiss. Beautiful.